Good morning, everybody. It's 8:51 a.m., July 13th, 2021. It is a Tuesday. It's 79 degrees and sunny where I am down in Florida. I started putting this video together last night. I was up till about midnight, and I just didn't want to actually record it, so I'm doing it now. I'll have another, overall look at the market type thing later on this afternoon, probably. But this is something I bring up all the time, is the ISO 20022, and it is a standard for payments messaging that is a global thing, and I just wanted to talk about it because I think it's very important. It has driven a lot of my own personal investment decisions, and this is not financial advice. But when I was presented with this information, I did more research and made some decisions. So I just want to make sure people are getting the information so they can, do that if they want to. It's an emerging global and open standard for payments messaging. This is from the SWIFT website, by the way. So they have an adoption program, they have their timelines, all kinds of really cool information on here, and it's a richer, better structured, and more granular data. They get improved analytics and less manual intervention, so it's a little more autonomous. Worldwide adoption, almost 200 market infrastructure-driven initiatives are either already implementing ISO 2022 or are considering adopting the standard for payments and securities transformation projects. Using modern technology, supporting end-to-end automation, like I was just saying. They have, Swift's role in supporting the initiative, and it's really interesting stuff. I'm not going to go over all these articles in depth because there's some that consolidate my points a little bit more, but this is where they talk about it's a standard that will be set for global financial institutions. So they basically all agree that this is a way of business, more or less, and it gets implemented like that. Sorry if you guys can hear my daughter. It sounds like she's having a problem out there. But what I wanted to highlight here is that the organizations participating in this are Algorand, XDC, Ripple, and then you see, Swift and Visa. So there's some pretty big names involved here. This is directly from the ISO website. Just some cool information on here if you guys wanted to look at stuff. It goes into the development, the maintenance, all kinds of cool stuff. They have the About page. It says, it's a single standardization approach, methodology, process, and repository to be used by all financial standard initiatives. It's a multi-part international standard prepared by ISO Technical Committee and Financial Services. Some of this stuff is really good information if this end of things interests you. I think the point that we'll make with the video will still ring true for those of you who don't feel like nerding out on this. They talk a little about their governance and how they have these different groups and, all this other stuff that they're involved in, payments, securities, trade service, foreign exchange. And so this is, a global effort to say, okay, this is the standard for trade service. This is the standard for payments. This is going to be the global standard for security. So the reason why this caught my eye is I was like, okay, well, this is a global initiative, and it's being adopted, which it is. I was like, this is could be a big deal, and you start seeing some of these things where some of these assets and their companies that helped create them and whatnot are tied to it, and here's their real-time payments group, and it talks a little bit about that, and it's driving international best practice for real-world interoperability. There's that word again for cross-border real-time payments. There's those words again. We hear that all the time. And it's got some resources where you can look at some stuff. They got some documentation on there. They just talk about their securities and derivatives, how that's going to be something they're going to get into. It goes into, who the leadership is, experts. They got a newsletter you can get to. Their trade services, pretty much the same information. Here's their registration management group member list, which I think is really interesting because, you see several different countries on here. And, you look over here at some of the companies, some of the ones that caught my eye is you got MasterCard, you got Swift, you got Visa, the Bank of England, and look, it's RippleNet. Imagine that. You go down to their member list and you start seeing some more stuff, Bank of England, Bank of all kinds of places, really. Payments in Canada, People's Bank of China, the CFTC's here, MasterCard's there, the European Central Bank. Who else is on here? There's some more people. State Street's here, of course. Swift is here. Bank of Japan, JP Morgan is obviously here, which means Goldman, State Street, BlackRock, they're all here because they all own each other. If you look up the top owners of each of those big banking conglomerates or whatever you want to call them, you'll see they all own each other. It's interesting. I just did a video on that from some information DAI posted. Nexos Standards, a bunch of MasterCard, Bank of Korea's in the house, RippleNet's over here chilling still. More Swift, more JP Morgan, Bloomberg, Visa. You guys get the idea. So it's a big thing. This is from Swift's website. They had a info paper. It's about the business standards and emerging technologies. And I highlighted this part because although they don't mention Ripple anywhere in here, they do mention R3. And a few other people, actually. Hyperledger's on here, I believe. Quorum is here. They had somebody else on here, too, that I saw. Anyway, whatever. I'm not going to waste time trying to scan that just to find that name. But, it does talk about R3's quarter platform being on here. So that leans into a lot of stuff we're going to talk about in this video, too. We're going to try to, blow through a lot of this. Ripple, the world is converging on a new global standard, the de facto global data standard for modern payments. Ripple is now part of the ISO 2022 standards body, the first member focused on distributed ledger technology. So, there's that. They got a couple articles that have some really good information. It's a 4-minute read. Don't worry, you're not going to hear it from me right now because we got too much to cover. Here's their story. And I'm not going to make this like an all-out Ripple video either, but we are going to go over a couple things. And, they're talking about unlocking the power of blockchain, inclusive finance. That's a big one. The Internet of Value. We just went over that a couple videos ago. If you didn't see that, go check it out. That's what I'm here for, honestly. The whole I don't know what you would even call it. The picture that I have in my mind that's built around that happening is awesome. So. Talks about their journey, Interledger, SBI Asia, RippleNet Committee, all this stuff. Working with MoneyGram for a little bit, Asimo. Here's some of their customers. You got Bank of America, Lulu, American Express, Santander, SBI, Navati. Got a bunch of customers. They also have this, which is a really cool thing. They have the universities around the world. It's the University Blockchain Research Initiative through Ripple Impact. And yeah, it's really cool. There are 40 plus universities across 15 countries, 280 plus academic research papers, and 160 plus newer expanded fintech courses. Really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. I think it's awesome that they're pushing the information like that. Obviously, it works for their business plan, but it's still cool. I'm still a fan. This is the RippleNet membership. You're seeing a bunch of these same names again. Everybody's still here. It talks about their governance and some cool stuff. Again, they're referencing this because it's what you have to. That has to be. If you're going into payments, and keep this in mind, guys. There's so many cryptos out here that are going to be successful in my eye, but you'll see why the payment sector is what attracted me. It might be boring to some people because it's really, you can't even look at it as the token value in my opinion. It's more of the protocol is so valuable because of what the use case is going to be for these things, and the the usage of them is what's going to drive the value, which we're going to get into that though. Financial inclusive. Here we are again. Sustainability again. This is more Ripple Impact. They're donating money. You see their partner right here. I think these are the two biggest ones, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Mojo Loop, who Bill and Melinda Gates are all up in. They're all over Africa doing really cool stuff. Here they are. They're comparing it to Bitcoin, how much the gallons and all this that it takes to run it. And, they got a green calculator here for you. It's cool stuff. They're committed to carbon zero. They're on all these boards for sustainability. There they talk about the Blockchain Research Initiative again. This is where they're talking about Ripple Swell, which is an event they hold, which I would love to go to at some point. And here's a little highlight video from the last one, 2019. Well, not the last one. The last one they had in person. 2020, I believe, was done fully remotely. There's that. Looks a lot more interesting to me than a Bitcoin convention. That's my own opinion, though. Here is a list put together by Leonidas from a swell summary from 2019, and they had a thing that came out that was showing that at least 175 companies attended the event, and these are the companies that are known. You'll see on here, we're not going to read them all, but maybe we'll just run through it real quick. But you got Abu Dhabi, I see American Express. If I skip any, I'm just trying to blast through this, guys. Axis Bank, they just partnered with AWS. Imagine that. Who else do we got on here? Bank of Bitrue was there. Doesn't surprise me at all. They're built on the ledger, I'm pretty sure. Citibank's there. Cambridge Global Payments is over there. You got a lot of all kinds of people. You guys get the point. Deutsche Bank, Interbank. I mean, my point on even looking at this list is, there's some legitimate players that come to this thing. And a lot of them. Some of them are partners already. Some of them aren't. I just, Berkeley's in the house. It's cool stuff. Here's a list of the top banks that were 100 banks and the ones of those that are using Ripple. This was based on a 2019 S&P Global Market Intelligence report. And this is just what's cool. I mean, you go down here and out of the top 100, you see who they're using based on that information. And keep in mind, the fact that all these banks are using them doesn't guarantee that it'll be a price driver at this point in the game. A lot of them are using RippleNet, which does not require the use of XRP as a bridge asset. It's just I think it's more of just a messaging service. The ODL is the one that's going to really, from my understanding, push the price, because that's where it's just going to be constantly being used, and the demand will be intense then. But we're not going to get into that yet right now either. This is where that information came from, is XRP Arcade. Has great information on any of that stuff if you're interested. And this is the team. Shout out to both these guys. Follow them on Twitter. A lot of good information. So getting back to the ISO 20022 standard, here you have Zinfin, which is XDC. We saw them on the Wikipedia page. This is them being talked about again. It's showing Swift on here, how they're going to work on there. They got some references and stuff. And let's not forget about some of their partnerships. They got people too. There's R3. That's why I mainly bring it up. You got Copper, which is getting in, I believe, the custody and stuff in a big way. That's why I keep seeing them mentioned, I'm pretty sure. You got Circle here. These guys have been featured everywhere. They got a couple of videos down there that are cool. I found this little infographic here, which is pretty interesting, and it just talks about their delegated proof of stake is a fork of Go Ethereum and JP Morgan's Quorum, allowing for a hybrid blockchain solution to solve real-world business problems, a company that can keep their data private but also confirm transactions on the public network. It is ideal for updating financial institutions' legacy systems. It's easy to develop on from what I understand, and they're on the list. It's ISO 2022 regulatory compliant and ready for the new messaging standards that will revolutionize international trade and finance, a highly liquid marketplace with trillions in traded capital. And the international trade part is what interests me on them, but I think I got that a few tabs down, so hang on to that thought. They also mentioned Algorand. This guy Silvio, was been a teacher at MIT forever, electrical engineering and computer science department. His research interests are cryptography, zero knowledge, pseudorandom generation, secure protocols, and mechanism design and blockchain. He's the co-inventor of probabilistic encryption, zero knowledge proofs, verifiable random functions, and many of the protocols that are the foundations of modern cryptography. He also founded Algorand. He also received the Turing Award in computer science, which is pretty much like the Nobel Peace Prize in its respect to that field. It's a big deal. You're seeing he's got stuff coming in at University of Rome. He's over at Berkeley. I mean, this guy is super sharp. And then here's just, pictures that Algorand has of the people they're working with in the sectors they're working with. It's huge, guys. I mean, it is really huge. Really, really huge. You'll see they got exchanges, wallets, stable coins, custodians, integration partners, developer tools, and infrastructure. ecosystem of applications. Here's all their university partners. The Algorand is a big deal. A lot of smart contract capabilities. And don't forget, Arrington Capital just launched a $100 million fund to invest in Algorand-based initiatives. And Arrington Capital is actually Arrington XRP Capital if you go to their website. So we know about that too. We don't need to get into Michael Arrington right now. Stellar, it's basically a clone of the XRP ledger, because here's one of the main creators of the XRP ledger, Jed McCaleb, who is also part of Mt. Gox, who is now here, just not getting mentioned in any lawsuits along the way. Whatever. We're not getting into that either. They're also partnered with IBM, so this is all big stuff. And Stellar, you don't see them mentioned in a lot of stuff, but I think that's because they're going to be used more for like me and you. But we'll get into that here in a minute too. Many hodlers will continue holding their Bitcoin. The truth is, many will rotate into altcoins and sell Bitcoin. Bitcoin's flaws are volatility, prone to 51% attack, unscalable, not green, high fees. New era is gold back, ISO 2022 standard, COMEX 589, Basel III, and precious metals, #XRP community. And it shows you that the standardized global language for financial messaging will cover trade, cards, payments, securities, FX, all of the high value payment systems of all reserve currencies. So it's literally all the money, and you guys know that's a Ripple saying. This is Quincy Jones. He's been interviewed by tons of people now. He's a 24-year-old guy. He came on, he was a Corda developer. He started explaining how some of this stuff worked in a way that allowed you to understand how it would actually function instead of speculating. And throughout the process, I think he got hit with a non-disclosure act, and I believe Zinfin has now hired him, and he's developing directly for them now, which I think is awesome. But I was bullish on this stuff anyway, and then when this stuff came out and all the research that's been done around what he said now at this point, it has blown my mind. So we got a few minutes of videos to watch, but listen to these. You're going to want to hear it.
It's one of those things where if you can go into some of the literature, it's kind of out in the open, but they're not going to come out and go on CNN and go, this is what's going to happen in the financial system.
Yeah.
That's after the news. That's after it happens. The news will come out and talk about it. But yeah, dude, right on their website. And if you want to, you could throw the image on the screen about how Fed on their own website say how they are going to overhaul to a new ISO system with an overnight method. Dude, it's the whole meme. It's the whole overnight XRP moon meme, dude. And it's right there on their website.
Yep. So you think it's all just going to moon in one day? Boom.
Oh yeah. I think
by moon, what do you mean? Go from like $1 to $10 or to $20 or?
I don't know what it's going to be, but what's going to happen is all the XRP that's going to be on the markets, or even that escrow, is going to be entirely commandeered by the banks, and that's what's going to cause it to move. Because basically, let's say, and that's the thing, you can already see this now. 1% of the entire XRP that's out there is in the hands of retail traders. So the only thing that's going to cause it to moon is the supply staying the same, but the demand going through the roof because the banks are now using it. It's almost like the difference between the banks sitting and holding onto a bunch of XRP and then now beginning to use it. And it's not all the banks are going to use it. It's the banks that are already prepared to use it, using it, and then everybody else following in line because this is the new system that they have to use. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you may have the Federal Reserve, you may have a handful of giant commercial banks already be on board, already be ready. That doesn't mean all the banks are going to be ready, but once they make the move, everybody else that falls in line is going to cause that demand to go. There's no telling where the price is going to go, but I can almost tell you that the demand is going to be on a whole nother level that's going to be unrecognized to what we've seen in the crypto markets today.
Like, so even bigger gains in 2017.
Oh yeah. It's gonna make 2017 look like a drop in the bucket, dude.
Yeah.
It's gonna make 2017 look like absolutely nothing. It's gonna make the Bitcoin market cap look like an absolute puddle. Like it's gonna make the entire crypto space look like a joke.
Woo! I don't know about you, but XRP is my biggest holding. It is not financial advice, but that gets me fired up listening to that. Just keep listening to what this guy says, man. He's super smart, and he was AWS certified. He shared his credentials and the fact that his first name is Roland, which I don't think he wanted to have to go there, but he did. So shout out to him for that. But check this out.
I think you're gonna end up seeing sort of almost like almost like a double peak or a double alt rally when it comes to ISO. I think you're going to have your first initial adoption rally. That's going to be from the banks. It's going to be from businesses. It's going to be from all the typical, like that utility rally. But then I think you're going to get a double peak from all the stupid fucks that FOMO in after the fact.
Speculation. After they see 100x gain, they're all going to be FOMOing in. I'm going to be all over YouTube telling them to FOMO in, man.
Yeah, you're gonna get that's the thing. I think the FOMO peak is gonna cause it. It's almost gonna be one of those things where it's gonna shoot up. Like, let's say it shot up to $120. Well, it may shoot up another $100 from all the people FOMOing.
Yeah, man.
But and you'll see some volatility, so it may go up, may go down. But that's the thing. For the most part, the main utility move is gonna maintain its value. So it may go up to $100 and then may go up to $200, then come back down to $120, and it may look like a 50% drop, but it's still gonna maintain that $100
that huge
move
gain, yeah,
because of the underlying use case and the underlying need and demand is just gonna be so great once there's clarity around not only legal clarity from the SEC, but clarity in regards to how the banks operate with each other. You got to remember, if the Federal Reserve all of a sudden said, we're ISO, we're using these tokens, this is how it is, all the banks have to fall in line. So it could very much be an announcement tomorrow by the Federal Reserve that basically dictates the price of all the ISO coins.
And I love how he talks about the floor being built by a token having this type of utility, because that's what I always talk about. Utility is my thing. Like, if it doesn't have it, I cannot invest in it. That's my own personal views. It's not financial advice. But the reason I decided that was because where he talks about that floor, you know, it's going to maintain that floor because of the utility-based use case. That leans into what I was saying the other day about how you could basically live the life that the rich are able to live in, well, not even the rich, the ultra wealthy are able to live in our current society based on these special loans and stuff they get. If you have accumulated an asset that hits that kind of value, maintains that kind of value, and then you can have it in a DeFi protocol, you will never have to work for income again. You have passive income for generations to come. I mean, it really can get that crazy. I have a couple more clips from him. Most of these are a little shorter, but it just really, it goes into, he's talking about these ISO coins, and these are, you know, I hold a few of them. Again, not financial advice, I just want to be honest with you. I hold all the ones he's going to talk about, actually, but just listen to what he says, excuse me.
So the overall appreciation in value from use case is absolutely going to trump anything else that you do with it. Now, this isn't me saying hodl all your coins. This is me, and I'm just going to say this in general for anybody. If you truly believe in the technology, and you truly believe in the space, you truly believe in the interest rate, you truly believe in the absolute use case and whatever technology you're invested in, the overall understanding of how you feel about that tech is essentially saying this technology is going to have a broader use case in the future that's currently not taking place now, and I'm going to wait until that broader use case comes to fruition until I essentially do anything with these assets. A lot of these, you got to remember too, a lot of these
or zero, not financial advice. Couple more. This is a short one here, but this gets into some really big stuff. You know, they've been talking about the wholesale CBDC into things, and like the whole purpose of that is to facilitate efficient P2P value transfers and settlement, especially in transactions involving securities and derivatives. And keep in mind, the derivatives market is a $600 trillion market. I believe it's valued at over a quadrillion of actual money, but like I think what's semi-liquid anyway is, you know, $500 billion more or less, to my understanding anyway.
Basically. Wow. Now, the difference between PancakeSwap and XRP that I believe is XRP will only be a decentralized exchange for derivatives. So I'm pretty sure PancakeSwap,
you can do like a PancakeSwap on.
So, you know, that's what he's thinking anyway. And that's been talked about before. Here, DAI says, while the children have been telling you to buy Bitcoin and short the banks, the adults have been working with the banks to build a new financial system. And I'm all aboard with that type of thinking. Listen to this.
It's going to be more for really everybody else. And I think they're going to do the exact same thing. Except XRP is going to do it for the banks, and XLM is going to do it for just peer-to-peer payments. Is XRP requires for the original gateway to have some form of control over the account holders, just like a bank. If you open up an account if you open up a bank account, that account isn't necessarily separate from the bank. It's entirely under the control of the bank. And it's not exactly the same way with XRP when it comes to issuing assets, but it's built in such a way to where it was almost like someone built it for the banks in that manner, to where you can issue other accounts under it, issue them assets. Now, why is this important? This is actually a huge security thing with this. The reason why that's important is when you're able to issue assets and it goes directly through the exchange, whether it's an exchange, whether it's a bank, whether it's whatever, in order to sell that asset to somebody else, you have to go through the gateway again. So, and the reason why this is important is this basically almost destroys any sort of people stealing money out of others' accounts, because you have to get permission from the bank itself to move that money, not just move the money anywhere. And the reason, and sort of get into sort of how the technology works for this, is when you issue an asset on XRP or on XLM, it functions the exact same way that XRP and XLM does. It's just almost like a piece of paper on the network with a name basically saying this is this token and this is what it does. But it operates the same way. It's just as fast as XRP. It's just as fast as XLM. It's just a token named something else on their network.
It's interesting to get that kind of insight from somebody who's developing, and obviously at a level to where, you know, you come out on Twitter for a couple of weeks and you get a job. So I thought that was pretty awesome, especially at 24, man. Shout out to that guy. Getting back into the XDC thing too, you know, they're talking about the derivatives and then the trade finance sector and all this other stuff. Well, I'm going to be doing an XDC video soon, but it's going to revolve around this because I found TradeFinex, which apparently is a big deal in the XDC community. I didn't know about it until recently. And what is really interesting about this is you see it's powered by the XDC protocol. It's an empowering trade finance ecosystem. It's a network for trade finance originators to distribute trade assets to the growing class of alternative asset investors. It's interesting, right? So it shows, you know, you got originators, SPVs, the funders, and it just, you know, shows everything going on. And then here in the middle is TradeFinex, and then it looks like it's using XDC to tokenize securities. You got regulated digital custodians on the map. Really interesting stuff. Of course, Cordo's on here. You got Oracle, even with QuickBooks and TradeShift. They got some videos to talk about some stuff. What was that down at the bottom there? Oh, yeah, they got their partnerships. You got Abu Dhabi, you got Nanyang, Ramco's on here, Copper's down here. I already know our three's on here, but we'll wait to see it just for the video. Circle's here. They're going public. That's USDC. Yeah, there's our three. So we get it, right? So then I Googled just what's TradeFinex's value. Well, TradeFinex is a distributed finance protocol that's built upon the XinFin network for $100 trillion worth of real-world assets. Guys, that's crazy. That's crazy. As a matter of fact, before I wasn't even going to look this up. What is that? 100 trillion? I'm not even going to look it up. Their market cap is like, I don't even think XDC might be $1 billion now. It's not. That's crazy. That's big. That's bigger than the entire. That's 50 times, 60 times the entire market right now. So then I found this Interledger Protocol Family and ISO 2002 ecosystem infographic here. To be honest with you, I just searched on Google. I have seen this on Twitter before. I don't know who created this, but it does seem to make sense because you do see a lot of these companies are tied into a lot of this stuff, and we do know that. You know, Accenture's an investor in a lot of these companies. You got R3 with Corda. There's XinFin and TradeFinex. We got JP Morgan and Quorum floating around. Of course, Swift here. I got Circle and Algorand over here. You know, Ripple, obviously, with the Interledger Protocol, which is tied to Corda. Keep in mind, Corda's main internal settlement token is XinFin, to my understanding, because of the smart contract capabilities. But as soon as you settle outside of that, your first choice is XRP, and then your second choice becomes Swift GPI, however that works, to my understanding. Make sure you do your own research on this stuff, but that's what I've been led to understand. So anyway, I didn't know until I looked at this today. I was like, I don't know who this group is, right? Apparently it's founded by all these people. So I went on there and looked, and, you know, you got tons of members on this page. Actually, I have a different one open. And yeah, you got Accenture, Algorand, Aave. There's just tons of people on here. There was even a few on here that were like outside of you got a bunch of blockchain companies that look like they're doing a ton of research. Who did I see that caught me off guard on here that surprised me? But you see, I mean, there's a ton of big companies in here. The Guarda wallet. IOTA's on here. Oh yeah, L'Oreal. That's what it was. It saw me. I was like, that's interesting. Ledger. You know, all kinds of stuff. You got the Malta Digital Innovation Authority, Polymath. It's a cool logo. Quant's here, R3's here. Swift's up in the house, obviously. You know, they're going to be around here somewhere. And VeChain's here too, which I thought was pretty cool. I had never seen that before. And yeah, this is just what they kind of deal with. They got an organizational chart here. It talks about this, and then their working groups. I believe it actually just has them. Yeah, we'll just look here. They got a climate action group, education, energy, finance, governance, healthcare, identity, interoperability, mobility, privacy, public sector, real estate, social impact, and supply chain, which would make sense why VeChain's in here. And yeah, this word right here, always remember this too, because in order for all these, you know, they're trying to handle pretty much all the money on the planet on like a large scale, you know, not necessarily what you and I exchange at the gas station and stuff like that. This is not how that works. This is going to be, you know, the underlying protocol of the financial system of the world. And the interoperability thing, the reason why that's so important is like you're going to have all these different assets being issued all around the world on different chains and all this different stuff. So they have to adopt a standard on the back end to say, okay, we all agree that this is worth this. These conversions all happen, you know, internally, autonomous. You know, they don't have, it's not nobody's sitting there figuring this stuff out. It just runs and it does its thing and it does it perfect. And, it's intense. So that is why I think this ISO thing is so important for people to understand. I hope you guys take the time to read some of these articles and go over it. Make sure you go watch this video. I'll put a link in the description. This is by Batty GTV. This is where Quincy Jones originally explains XRP and the new financial system. It's a 20-minute video. You're no stranger to that if you're on this channel. And there's a ton of awesome information. That's what some of those clips are from, but there's so much more in here that you really got to hear if you're interested in this stuff. This is his YouTube channel, or this is Quincy's YouTube channel, Coin Club Crypto. Got tons of videos, great stuff. He breaks it down in a really cool way. It's really easy to understand. Give me a follow at Twitter at TruePerception3. And make sure you like and subscribe to the video. We will now get to see if this thumbnail project works. It didn't really do it on Twitter, but now it's just sitting here. We'll see if Amber turns into clickbait soon. I did organize some videos, started putting them in playlists just so that it's a little bit easier if you're looking for some. It's not the best organized, but some things are in multiple things too. So I just figured that might help. And you know, feel free if you guys want to. You can hop on over here to where the referral links are. I got the Facebook group rolling. We'd love to see some new people. There hasn't been a lot of action recently, I'll be honest. But yeah, if you want to support that, that'd be cool. And I will hopefully catch you guys this afternoon. Take it easy.